I am here with Peter Lavelle, host of RT's CrossTalk. Peter, let's talk a little Venezuela. Let's talk a little Iran. It seems, we were talking before we did this show, that it seems that the attempted regime change in Venezuela may be calming down. You'll give us your insight there. On the flip side, we also had Mike Pence in Poland pushing for more aggressive actions against Iran. Talk about these two crises that are hitting the geopolitics today.
Yeah, first of all, let's take a look at Venezuela. The shock and awe that you and I have talked about in previous videos seems to have come to an end. No one's shocked anymore, and it's not really awe-inspiring. But we do have Elliott Abrams in the background, and I want to talk about him a little bit later. But it seems to me that this wasn't thought out. You'd think after Iraq they would have thought, what's going to happen next? Okay, I mean, it's declare regime change and then hopeful thinking. That's not a foreign policy strategy. The random guy, I like how Moon of Alabama refers to Gaidu. He is a president of nothing. Okay. They're going to try to get some illicit funds from him, which may be illegal under international law, from Venezuelan assets outside of the country. And members of Congress, not that they hold them very much in high esteem, but they're making it pretty clear that the military option, they don't have a problem with regime change, okay, but they would have a problem with a military incursion. Now, Trump has to, you and I have talked many times, well, 2 years really. He's got good instincts. He doesn't act out on them very well, and he certainly doesn't have the HR policy to back it up. He has a thing for Venezuela. He had a briefing on it the second day he was in the White House. He seems to have, that's like a bee in his bonnet, and which I'm totally against forced regime change. Absolutely. And Venezuela is no national security threat to the United States. Nonetheless, he has Pompeo and he has Bolton and we have Elliott Abrams on board. And considering, Abrams is supposed to be the great architect of regime change in the Western Hemisphere, it's not working out very well. We do know, at least from what I've seen from news reports, that an arms shipment was interdicted in Venezuela. Arms coming from the outside. To date, we have one military official not commanding troops that has flipped to the illegal government. So the military is standing firm. There's talk about using Colombia as a transit point to bring in aid. Why would they bring in aid if they're sanctioning the country? Somebody explain that to me, all right? Why don't you drop the sanctions first, okay? So, and then we had that propaganda image where this highway was blockaded. Okay, not allowing aid. And well, those highways were never put into use. Okay, they're abandoned, or there wasn't enough money, or something, but they're not being used. Colombia, being a real cheerleader for this endeavor, has gotten cold feet because the military knows if they send one troop across the border with aid, which will be guns, okay, that the Venezuelan military will shoot back, okay? It's a sovereign country. It has a right to protect its border. So the Colombians are getting cold feet about this. Gaidu's popularity, at least in the street, is tapering away. Maduro is standing firm, and I think he strongly believes that he can ride this out. Venezuelan oil will be shipped to new customers through different routes. The world likes petroleum, okay? And if you're selling it, even at a lower price, people are going to buy it, okay? Okay, they don't care about what regime is there, okay? If you cared about regimes, why do you buy Saudi oil, okay? So right now, this is where we stand right now. It looks like it's tapering off, and it's really, again, if I were to put my shoes in the administration, they just didn't plan this out very well. You're going to stomp your foot and yell, and you'll have regime change? Come on, you guys, grow up, okay? Where are the adults in the room? It hasn't happened. Okay, it certainly hasn't happened. And the opposition has put itself, the very fractious Venezuelan opposition is putting itself in the most unenviable position of wanting your country to be attacked by a foreign power, a power that has massive military strength. And look what they did to Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Libya. You want that to happen in your country? That's not a very strong position to have, certainly not popular position to have with the masses of people. And I always stress in our videos when we talk about Venezuela, I am not defending the economic model of Venezuela. Of course I don't. But that's a sovereign decision of the Venezuelan people to decide, okay? I don't think anyone else has that right, all right? They need to clean up. The government has not been as efficient as it could be. Oil prices crashed. It's a country that is completely dependent on oil exports, and that creates what's called Dutch disease. What is Dutch disease? Well, if you have enough money to buy everything from abroad, you don't have to make anything at home. That's what Venezuela's situation is. Shame on the government, because they should have kept an eye on it. Look at Norway. Norway, vast oil and gas reserves off its coast, and it siphoned that money off into a very separate account. You don't touch it. Don't touch it, because if you do, it will poison the entire economy. Okay, and that's what Venezuela should have done. But when you have this kind of economic model, you like to kind of throw around the money, but when the money dries up, things go bad. Okay, and that's something Venezuela didn't learn, irrespective of what government is there. Okay, or even economic model. So that's something to take a look at. We're going to obviously be keeping a close eye on what's going on in Venezuela. For me, it's a lull. Let's hope Abrams isn't let loose and with death squads and all of that. But don't put it past him, okay? Speaking of which,
I was going to get to that opening. Go ahead. I don't need to ask you any questions. Ilhan Omar confronts Abrams. The video has made its rounds across the internet. It went viral. What's your take on it?
It's probably the only thing I would ever agree with her on, okay? And she deserves a medal. She said the truth. What was it? I'm paraphrasing. Mr. Abrams, why should we believe anything you tell this committee? Okay, she's right. She's absolutely right. I'm seeing across the political spectrum, her being tough with Elliott Abrams, a guy that organized and funded and armed death squads. Okay, he's offended. Really? Come on, that's a bit rich. All right. So I'm glad she said it. She's also very critical of American support of Israel, which I think again is also she's speaking the truth. Okay, the Israeli lobby is proud of its strength and its ability to get its sway in the U.S. Congress. So is Big Pharma. Okay, they're very happy. The petroleum industry, the arms industry, they all do it, and they all pay a lot of money. Google pays everybody. Okay, so just to say the obvious that she should be crushed and politically destroyed, well, that shows you, the rank hypocrisy of that city. Okay, the imperial city. All right. So this may be the first and last time I will agree with Congresswoman Omar, but kudos to her.
And you're saying that as a conservative analyst, yes, a conservative thinker. And before we move to Iran, I just want to play very quickly devil's advocate with you, very quickly.
Okay.
A lot of the alternative media, a lot of the mainstream media, Fox News, even MSNBC, CNN, they come in and they say, well, Elliott Abrams, at that time, he was protecting, this is their argument, he was protecting Latin America and South America from communist influence, so he did what he had to do to protect them against communist influence. What do you say to that?
No, that's just the
Soviet opposite. Influence, Soviet communist influence, yes.
Right. Okay, right. You know what he was doing? What he was doing is hindering the development of democracy. See, this is something that most people don't know because they watch, they read the New York Times, the Washington Post, and watch CNN. Look, in the 60s and the 70s, you had military dictatorships throughout Latin America, and the mantra then was, you need to democratize. You should introduce democracy and put the soldiers back in the barracks. Well, they did. They voted. But they voted for the wrong people. That's the problem here, okay? So Elliott Abrams was to make sure that only one political and economic model would prevail, which would be pro-U.S., pro-corporate America. But in Chile in 1973, they voted a way that the Americans didn't like. And then so Nixon said to Kissinger, I want Chile its economy to howl, okay, or scream, okay. And Elliott Abrams was all part of that. No, it wasn't to push back. I can understand that in the context of the Cold War, but in reality, Elliott Abrams was the antithesis of democracy promotion. Okay, hey, look, is he a great president? It's not for me to say, okay? I'm not from Venezuela, okay? But it's not up to Elliott Abrams to determine the political stripes of a country, okay? It's up to the people to do that. So anyone that says that across the political spectrum that he was fighting communism, well, that's a lot of hyperbole, okay? They were afraid of the people. They're always afraid of the people, okay? And they want governments to get in line. Because they want to go after Nicaragua, they want to go after Cuba, and the easiest low-lying fruit is Venezuela, and that's why they're starting there. All right, look, I remember the Cold War very, very well, and I remember the dirty wars that the U.S. was involved in Latin America, and it's a bloodstain on American foreign policy history. Okay, and Abrams is a living example of it. Okay, so I don't buy this. It doesn't cut anything with me because they were suppressing democracy, not promoting anti-communism. Sorry. Okay, those are the facts.
All right, great point. And let's get to Trump's other foreign policy obsession, which is Iran. What do you make of the meeting in Poland?
It was blunderous. It was ridiculous. Okay,
can you explain a little bit what it was?
Yeah, I mean, what it was is that
they didn't get much news time.
Hardly any coverage at all. There was a meeting in Warsaw. Vice President Pence was there. Benjamin Netanyahu was there, and essentially it was regional security for the Middle East. Well, no, the agenda for the U.S. and obviously the Israelis was purely anti-Iran. And they were talked about the nuclear deal. And the host of the conference in Warsaw, Poland, actually said that they support the Duran deal, okay? And all of the Europeans do as well. And what the EU did is they sent very low-level officials. I mean, basically an affront to this confab. They're not going to go along with it. Okay, the EU is very dismissive of it because they support the nuclear deal. And then Benjamin Netanyahu shows up, and he said on his website, I'm paraphrasing here, coordinating our forces for war against Iran. And there were a number of, there was an Arab delegation from the Gulf countries, and they said war, and Benjamin Netanyahu had to change his own website page to confrontation with Iran. Look, the Saudis and others, they can talk, they do talk to the Israelis, but they do it quietly behind closed doors because, you have, again, we've talked about elite capture. The Washington has had elite capture in the capitals of the Middle East, but it's not how the people feel. And so these elites have to be very careful what they say in public. So appearing in a public forum in Eastern Europe, suggesting that they all should go to war with Iran doesn't go down politically with their I was going to say electorate, but hardly any of them vote. So with their people, No, this is, it turned again, did anybody think this out? I mean, they knew, we would not have a very good reception. They knew the Europeans didn't want to attend in any meaningful way. And then Pence basically gets down badgering the people he wants on board for support. So it was basically a catastrophe. And it shows this is not being well thought out. Essentially saying, they're promoting people, the Iranian people, to overthrow their government while sanctioning them for in very, very strong ways. And so they want, I don't understand the logic of, we want to help you, the Iranian people, but we're going to sanction you to the point of desperation because we know, and we've said many, many times in this venue, sanctions never really hurt the elites. It always hurts the people. So how in the world, in Venezuela and in Iran, how could they be thankful and hopeful that the United States is going to topple their government? Okay, look, you can say what you want about Iran, but Iran does have elections. Does Saudi Arabia have elections? Haven't heard about it. Okay, so again, it's the Iranian people that have to decide their fate. All right. The U.S. has no right to do that. So what they want to do is they want to continue sanctions. They want it to be high profile. And the Israelis want everyone else to do the heavy lifting. They want the Americans to do it. They want the Americans to pay for it and the Americans to take lead on it. Iran is not a national security threat to the United States whatsoever. Okay, and then you have Pompeo saying, well, Hezbollah is active in Venezuela. Yeah, I heard this one before. All right, but no evidence is ever shown. Okay, it's just warmongering, scaremongering. That's all it is here. So the big confab to rally the international community, Washington's friends, to go after Iran was a dismal failure.
Yeah, and Trump, once again, we go back to a narrative that we've been saying show after show, which is Trump has a huge HR problem, especially in his foreign policy team with Bolton and Pompeo, Abrams, these guys. This is the swamp that he needs to clean out from his own administration.
Yeah, and what Trump really has to worry about is that with this really reckless rhetoric, does he want to find himself in a conflict right before re-election? Does he really want to do that? I think that's right now as we speak here, what is he going to? Is he going to get that wall money? Is it? He's saying he will. Will there be a shutdown? Maybe. Oh no, there won't be a shutdown, but he'll call a national emergency. He's of all presidents in my lifetime, I'll give Trump this. He's got that envelope in his pocket, and he's got all of those campaign promises, and he is determined to check them off. One of them is no more silly, expensive, immoral foreign entanglements and interventions. I don't think he wants to go that way. My gut tells me he's basically said to Pompeo and to Bolton, do what you do, but no war. No war. Not on my watch. Okay? Not on my watch, because I got to build the wall. Okay? And those are the two things. He's got to get that wall, and he's got to make sure that we get out of Syria, we start pulling troops out of Afghanistan. We don't know to what percentage of his base that's important to them. But we do know it is, okay? We just don't know the number. And I think he's really aware of that.
I think it's a large part of his base, because you're not only dealing with conservatives, you're libertarians, you're dealing with a lot of progressives as well, people who may not be so fond of Trump the man, but I think they really do like that one policy of getting the U.S. out of all these entanglements.
Yeah. And if he loses them, he will lose the election. Okay. And this wall, I'm not sure it was the right way to the path to go down, but he owns it. Okay, that's his, and he can't fail. Yeah. He can't fail on that. Okay, and look, we have at the end of the month, on my birthday, we have the summit in Hanoi. Where we'll have the talks with North and South Korea, which I think is really important, and he owns that too, and he better make sure he gets something out of it. Like I said in our last video, leave Bolton and Pompeo at home. Okay, you don't need it.
Yeah, our viewers like that in the comments down below as well. They seem to agree. Leave those guys at home. Get rid of those neocons.
Let's get very clear here. Are we on the path to a peaceful resolution on the Korean Peninsula? Yeah, we're on the path. Will it happen? I don't know. Okay, but we have to give it a chance, and I think that's what Trump thinks. We have to give it a chance, and I admire him for doing that. Okay, I admire him for going down this path. Okay, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be resolved quickly. Okay, Americans think everything is transactional. Okay. In diplomacy, it doesn't work that way, okay? It's called tit for tat, okay? And you have to have confidence-building measures. The two Koreas have been doing that. And I'm so grateful, so happy about that. You have the most militarized border in the world, and they're starting to deal with it. It's one nation, two states. They're coming together. Donald Trump can continue that process, but his advisors don't want it, okay? Yeah. And all of these chicken hawks in Congress are the same. And the media certainly don't want to give Trump any success in anything, even if it means peace. What kind of world do we live in? My God, they're against peace now.
And even Bolton scares the hell out of me because he's no stranger to sabotaging these types of deals. I mean, that's his wheelhouse. He did it in Syria. He'll do it anywhere he can. He'll sabotage these types of peace deals.
We have the arms control agreements, which he's adamantly against. The last one, the New START, will expire in 2001. And if you're not renegotiating it now, there won't be anything there. These things take a long time. Okay, because technology changes, different borders have changed, different countries are on the rise, new weaponry. It's not going to. That's a long, hard process, and I don't see anybody in the Trump administration even getting down, cracking a few books and starting to research this. I don't see it. Okay, that's very bad. It's very, very bad.
And we'll leave it on that note. Peter Lavelle, host of RT's Crosstalk. Thank you very much. Guys, if you like this video, click on the subscribe button down below and click on that notifications bell to get notifications every time we push out a new video. Visit the Duran shop, pick up a t-shirt, help support the Duran. And in the description box down below, you'll find links to our PayPal and Patreon pages. Please donate to the Duran. That really helps us out a lot. And don't forget to follow us on iTunes and Soundcloud to listen to this show in audio format. Mr. Peter Lavelle, the one and only host of RT's Crosstalk. Thank you very much.
Always a pleasure.
Everybody. All right. Till next time, everybody. Take care.